Hello everyone, and welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to be here with you to talk about identifying and overcoming obstacles to effective organizational communication. The title of our session is Types of Communication Barriers. Over the next few slides, we'll explore the different kinds of barriers that can hinder clear communication within organizations and discuss strategies to overcome them. So let's get started and dive into understanding these common obstacles. So, what do we mean by barriers? Basically, these are anything that stops us from effectively receiving and understanding the messages that others are trying to communicate. These barriers can take many forms, things like language differences, misunderstandings, or even our own biases and assumptions. The important thing to remember is that when these barriers are present, they can distort or block the flow of information, making it hard to truly grasp what someone else is trying to say. As we move through this presentation, keep in mind that identifying and overcoming these barriers is essential for clear, effective communication. It's all about making sure that our messages are received and understood as intended. All right, let's talk about some common semantic and linguistic barriers that can really impact our communication. First, we have jargon. These are the technical terms that experts often use, but they can be confusing or meaningless to someone who isn't familiar with the field. It's like speaking a different language sometimes. Then there's ambiguity, words that have multiple meanings. This can lead to misinterpretation because the listener might not understand exactly what we mean. Next, we need to consider language differences. Using a language that the receiver isn't comfortable with or isn't familiar with can create a huge barrier to understanding. All of these issues stem from the linguistic capacities of both the sender and the receiver. The key takeaway here is that effective communication requires us to be mindful of these barriers and try to bridge them, whether by avoiding jargon, clarifying ambiguous terms, or adapting our language to our audience. This is essential in ensuring our message is received as intended, especially in diverse or multicultural settings. Let's take a closer look at some of the organizational barriers that can hinder effective communication. First, there's the issue of status differences. Employees often feel intimidated when approaching their superiors, which can create a significant gap in open dialogue. This sense of hierarchy can prevent valuable feedback or concerns from being voiced. Next, we have rigid rules. Strict policies and procedures, while necessary at times, can sometimes restrict the channels through which open communication can occur. When policies are too restrictive, they inadvertently create barriers that limit the flow of information. Then there's the complex hierarchy. Organizations with many management levels can experience delays in information flow because messages have to pass through multiple layers. This not only slows down communication, but can also distort or dilute the message along the way. All of these points highlight how organizational structure and internal policies can create barriers to effective communication. Recognizing these hurdles is the first step toward addressing them and fostering a more open, transparent environment. Let's talk about some common interpersonal barriers that can really impact effective communication. First, personal conflicts. When there's existing tension between people, it can distort the message being sent or received. Instead of focusing on the actual content, conversations might get sidetracked by underlying issues. Next is the fear of authority. Subordinates might hold back important information or ideas because they're worried about how their message will be received by someone in a higher position. This hesitation can prevent open and honest communication, which we all know is essential for success. Then there's the lack of trust. When trust isn't there, messages tend to be viewed with skepticism. People might question motives or doubt the sincerity behind what's being communicated, which really hampers collaboration and understanding. All of these barriers happen because of the nature of relationships between the people involved. They're rooted in how we perceive and interact with each other. Recognizing these interpersonal barriers is key, because addressing them helps foster clearer, more effective communication overall. Now, let's talk about some individual and psychological barriers that can really impact effective listening. One of the most common issues is poor listening, which happens when we're not paying enough attention or when we don't retain the information being shared. It's easy to get distracted or to miss key details if we're not fully present. Another barrier is premature evaluation. That's when we judge the message or the speaker before they've even finished talking. This often leads to misunderstandings or missing the true intent of what's being communicated. Then there's selective perception. This is when we only hear what we want to hear, filtering the message through our needs, biases, or expectations. It's like tuning out parts of the conversation that don't align with our preconceived notions. All of these barriers, whether internal to the sender or receiver, act as filters that can distort or obstruct the message. Recognizing these internal factors is crucial because overcoming them can significantly improve our ability to listen effectively and connect better with others. Let's talk about some of the cross-cultural barriers we might encounter. First, there's ethnocentrism, which means judging other cultures based on the standards of our own. It's a natural tendency, but it can lead to misunderstandings and missed opportunities for genuine connection. Next, body language plays a big role, and gestures that are harmless or positive in one culture can have very different, sometimes even offensive, meanings elsewhere. So, being aware of these differences is crucial. Then there's the matter of values and norms. Different cultures have varying concepts of time, space, and etiquette. For example, what's considered polite or appropriate in one place might not be in another. All of these factors can contribute to misunderstandings if we're not careful. Recognizing these barriers helps us foster better communication and build stronger, more respectful relationships across cultures. This connects directly to our overall goal of effective international collaboration. Now, let's talk about some of the common physical and technical barriers that can affect communication. First, technical failures such as poor internet connections, software glitches, or hardware failures can suddenly disrupt the flow of information. These issues are often unpredictable and can cause frustration or misunderstandings. Next, there's the challenge of distance. When participants are physically separated, it can be difficult to get immediate feedback or gauge reactions. This delay can impact how effectively we communicate and respond in real time. Then, we have noise, external sounds or distractions that break concentration or interfere with the message. Whether it's a noisy environment or background chatter, noise can physically block or distort the message we're trying to deliver. All these factors are environmental or technical obstacles that can physically block or hinder effective communication. Being aware of these barriers helps us find ways to minimize their impact and ensure our message gets across clearly, no matter the circumstances. Let's talk about overcoming barriers in communication. One key strategy is creating a feedback loop. That means asking questions to check if the message was understood correctly. It helps ensure we're on the same page and clear up any confusion early on. Next, using simple language is really important. We want to avoid jargon and complex words whenever possible because clear, straightforward words make the message accessible to everyone. Another crucial point is clarifying ideas. Before moving forward, make sure your message is crystal clear. Don't assume it's understood. Take the time to explain and confirm. And finally, active listening plays a vital role. It's about truly listening to understand, not just waiting for your turn to speak. When you listen actively, you pick up on what's really being communicated, which helps you respond more effectively. All these strategies are about breaking down barriers so our communication becomes clearer, more effective, and more engaging, ultimately supporting the overall goal of better connection and understanding. Prepared by Vinod Goswami. You can reach me at goswamiv505@gmail.com or call me at +91 8,755,072,430. Thank you all for your time and attention today. I hope you found this presentation insightful and useful for your own projects. Remember, the key takeaways are the importance of understanding the core concepts and applying them effectively. Feel free to connect with me for any further questions or discussions. Once again, thank you very much for your interest and engagement. Have a great day.